Batman Arkham Knight is one of the most visually striking games ever, whether we're talking about the graphics or the art style, maybe even the city itself. Batman Arkham Knight is one of the coolest looking games and has some of the greatest mechanics as well as gadgets. It's got the Batmobile, it's got multi-fear takedowns, it's got all this stuff and more, and in today's video, I got Kloud and Crimson with me, and we're going to be discussing the visuals and gameplay of Batman Arkham Knight. Welcome, Crimson and Kloud. How you guys doing?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me, my guy.
Doing great.
Awesome. All right, so to start things off here, I'm going to ask you guys the first question here. So how this is going to work is I have a set series of questions, and I believe I have about, like, 9. So some of these are two-parters, and some of these are just single questions. You'll find that majority of these questions are pretty easy to answer questions. I mean, especially when it comes to, like, what would you rank this out of 10 questions. And the whole purpose of this video was not to make, like, a lengthy video for those wondering. This was just to kind of get an idea as to where me, Crimson, and Kloud would rank certain things, or if we like this, or if we don't, etc. You know, it's just supposed to be a more simplistic video. And I feel like when talking about Arkham Knight, one of the things that I just love to talk about a lot are the visuals and the gameplay, which is exactly why I wanted to invite Kloud and Crimson on here with me to talk about this, to get their point of views on how they stand on certain things, both gameplay and you know, visual-wise. But anyways, so let's get to the first question. So my first question for you both is, so how would you guys rank the graphics and art style of Arkham Knight out of 10? So I'll go first before you guys go. I'll say for my ranking of this out of 10, I'd say the graphics for me are about, like, I'd say like a 9. I'd say they're a 9, and I'd say the art style, is a 10. I feel like you really can't go wrong with this art style. I feel like the graphics are really close to a 10, you know, I feel like they're really close. But yeah, those are my rankings. So Crimson, what would you rank the graphics and art style out of 10 in Arkham Knight?
Well, I kind of like you when it comes to the graphics. Like, even to this day, you know, 10 years. Think about that. Well, first off, happy 10 year to Arkham Knight. But
yeah,
10,
exactly.
10-year-old game is outdoing as far as graphics with some modern games. Like, the fact that this game was able to do that is just, it's out of my hands. It's like, how in the world is that happening? But as far as out of 10, I'm going to have to agree with you. It's definitely a 9, maybe even a 10. You know, like, the graphics themselves are just very good. Very good. As far as the art, I'm not going to lie. Like, the art, that's where me and you are going to have to probably disagree. Some of the art is good. You know, it's a dark, groomy game. Yep. And, you know, that fits Gotham. So in that case, it's good. But when it comes to some of the other aspects, it doesn't do necessarily as good. So I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10, personally.
Right. Yeah, no, that's completely fine. And I do like the fact that you brought up the fact that, you know, it's Arkham Knight's 10th year anniversary, and I just want to make this clear for everyone watching. That's actually one of the reasons why this video was actually being made, was to help celebrate Batman Arkham Knight's 10th year anniversary. So absolutely, Crimson, you're right. Happy 10-year anniversary to Batman Arkham Knight! Yeah! Anyways, Kloud, how would you rank the graphics and art style out of 10?
I might be shooting for the fence here compared to yours and Crimson's ranking.
Yep.
But in terms of both graphics and art style, I'm giving them both a 10.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I think the graphics, like Crimson said, it stands the test of time.
They really do.
It literally stands tall with games that come out today, and is still one of the most visually pleasing games that I've ever played. And to say that this was a PS4 title, it really does go to show. It really goes to show that this was something truly special when it comes to the graphics and the art style. You know, I might be, giving this too much praise, but I just think it really does capture the essence of the world of Batman. You have this really visually pleasing Gotham. Everyone looks like they belong there. You have beautiful kind of lighting. It's one of the best I've seen. And I just think that it was all brought together very well to make a really good Batman game. So that's why I give it both art style and graphics a 10 out of 10.
Can I change mine just for a second? You guys
Yeah, you can go ahead and
convinced
change
me.
it.
The art style, I'll go up to a 9, like a 9.5 out
Okay.
of 10. I'll go up.
Yeah, no, that's
Alright.
completely fine. And honestly, I couldn't agree more, Cloud. You honestly said it perfectly. I feel like I couldn't have said it any better. And I got to agree with like the lighting and the fact that, like you said, this is a PS4 game, and that's one of the reasons why I gave the art style a 10, is just because of the fact that I feel like for a PS4 game, this is probably like one of the best looking PS4 games art style wise, but also graphically too. And I feel like when you compare it to other story games that are out there, like the Last of Us series, Star Wars Battlefront, which is more multiplayer, but the graphics in that still aren't too bad. Then you've got other games as well that you could compare it to, like Doom, and you got
Fallout.
Fallout.
God of War.
Yeah, Call of
Like,
Duty.
you
When
see
you
all
compare
these
it to all those games, yeah.
Yeah, all these great AAA titles that have come out since Arkham. Like, you've got the God of War games, you've got, the Spider-Man games, that's a popular superhero franchise that has come out. This game still stands tall as one of the best superhero games ever. And
Yeah, and
one of the greatest things it's known for is how visually beautiful the game looks. And this is a 2015 title.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like when you look at it like that, when I always looked at this game back in 2015, I always said to myself, there's no way this is a game from 2015. This looks like this game was made in 2020. Like, this looked like a game that came from the future when it came out. When we're talking about the cinematics, the gameplay,
it's ahead of its time.
And even the art style. Everything, all in all, it looked like it was a game from 2020, which was just absolutely mind-blowing. But anyway, so that's the first question. So the next question here that I'm going to ask you guys is, in regards to the map, do you guys think it was a good size, or would you have added more areas, whether that be through like the base game or even through DLC? So I'll ask Crimson again here first. So Crimson, do you think it was a good size?
I'm not gonna lie. I have a feeling I have a feeling I know what Kloud's gonna say, because believe it or not, we've talked about this thousands of times, and if he is going to say this, I'm going to kind of be a little vague here because I'm going to agree with him. I kind of wish that, like, obviously the size alone is already good, but I do wish that we could have explored Arkham Asylum, maybe Arkham City a little bit, maybe a part of Bloodhaven, but you know what? I'm okay with not having Bloodhaven, but at least the Asylum. I wish they would have allowed us to free roam the asylum in Arkham Knight. Like, could you imagine, like, after going at the end of the story, after confronting Scarecrow and saving Robin and Jim, that you could return to the asylum and just be like, oh, I remember that in the asylum. That's where, I collected that Riddle trophy. Or look, that's where Dr. Young was killed, and here we are like a couple years later, and I still see the outline of Dr. Young's body, or maybe goes in the sewers, go to Croc's lair. Like that, I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like we should have been able to go back to the asylum as well. And it would have been cool to explore even Arkham City. Kind of like you said, they're kind of in the distance. You can see them. We can't really explore them. The campaign shows us that they're still there. And there's even a part in the campaign where, Scarecrow's kind of, having like a meeting with all the villains. And so that's one of the locations from the asylum. And it just really sucks that that was like the only time that we actually got to see it. I will agree that, that definitely should have been added to the game.
Well,
But
take it also with this. Like, they're both locations, the Asylum and Arkham City, are riddles in the game as well. So it's like,
yes.
come on now, let me explore them. Just me though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So what about you, Kloud? Do you agree with us, or do you have a different take on it?
Oh, 100%. Crimson was, spot on there. They acknowledge the past, through Easter eggs and riddles.
Hmm.
They reference and acknowledge that the past exists. So it would have been great and I was quite content with Gotham with what we had.
Hmm.
I felt like it was a great sized map. It catered to the mechanics of being able to move fast with Batman. You can move fast with the Batmobile. It did do make a really satisfying map with the mechanics that they were dealing with. But it's just I can't. Yeah, I have to admit the potential we could have gotten. Where, like you said, imagine you see Arkham Asylum in the distance. Let us go there. You see Arkham City. Let us go there. You even seen Wayne Manor. Why can't we go to Wayne Manor? All these locations that you can see off in the distance, and you just have this urge of, oh, I wish I could go there. In one game is there's always going to be that level of potential, and I definitely think that it would have been cool to be able to go to those locations and have the ability to explore Arkham City again, to explore Arkham Asylum, and then go to Gotham, as and when you please. I think that would have been a great concept for a map where it embraces the future but respects the past and allows you to experience both sides. Where we get to go to Gotham, the new location, but then also go to where we've been before. Most definitely, I think the map could have. There's more room for improvement, I think.
Yeah. No, honestly, I couldn't agree more with everything that you both said, which is why, if I was to give my answer, I'd say um exactly what you had just said about the fact that, like even Crimson was saying, how the locations were there in the distance, but also, we got to see them in the stories, and I always thought that they could have added some of these in like DLCs to where, we could have gotten those locations also added to like the main map, so like not just through the DLCs, but through the main map with them. And I feel like that would have added so much to this game, and it definitely would have made the DLC stories feel like they had an element of surprise because they would have had something special attached to them, such as
Yeah,
getting new locations to the map,
like
not just like the
could you
stories
imagine?
themselves.
Could you imagine when they dropped and gave you the original Arkham, uh, Batmobile and Batsuit? It also came with re-experience where it all began, and you get to go to this new area, which is in fact an actual old location, where you get to re-experience Arkham Asylum with Arkham Knight graphics. That would have
Yeah,
been, great. I think they could have added that a new area to explore,
yeah.
which
Even
they
the
kind of did.
lighthouse.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of did with the DLC. There was other locations that they added, but it was like within the confines of in Gotham City. Still, they never went the extra step to go to those big locations where you get to re-experience Arkham Asylum and you get to go there, or you get to re-experience the flooded city of Arkham. All these locations definitely could have, you know, they're just sitting there. You get to see them off in the distance, and it's like, oh man, I wish I could go. I can just drive over there. It would have been
Yeah.
cool.
No, honestly, I couldn't agree more, and honestly, that's why, um, if we were ever to have gotten stuff like that, I feel like I would have, like a lot of us, had such like an over-the-top reaction, and like I said, it would have made DLCs. Not that they weren't bad or anything, but it would have made them so much better that they had that element with them. Uh, but yeah, no, I agree with you both. With that said, let's move on to the next question here. So the next question I have for you guys is, what would you guys think, or excuse me, what would you guys rank the gameplay out of 10? So when we're talking about, just the gameplay itself of Arkham Knight, and we're talking about, both the gameplay for the combat and the Batmobile, keep in mind. So just like the gameplay itself. So what would you guys rank it out of 10? For me to start here, I'm going to give the gameplay itself, I'm going to give it like a solid 8.7.
That's such a precise number.
Yeah, no,
8.7.
it is a little bit precise. I feel like the reason I'm giving it 8.7 is because I feel like it's so close to being a 9. If you guys think it's a 9 or a 10, that's completely fine, but in my personal opinion, I think it's an 8.7, but the reason being is because I feel like they nailed the combat down. The free flow is amazing. I feel like, the stealth missions were great. And I do like the Batmobile, but I don't like everything about it. I definitely do feel like for me, what brings it down a little bit is the Batmobile, because I'm not a fan of every aspect. I do like the combat moments with the Batmobile, but there's just quite a bit to it control-wise, and I almost forget all the controls to the Batmobile. To be fair, I mean, they were gonna obviously add more than just like the the winch and the gun, but I just feel like the Batmobile in some cases feels slightly overstuffed with mechanics, in my opinion. I do like the drift mechanic. I love the winch. I even like, the like the main gun that you can spray other tanks with, and I even think the missiles are cool. The main tank is good too, but I wasn't like the biggest fan of every aspect of the Batmobile when it comes to like being able to drift or not drift, dash. When it comes to being able to dash to the side, I just thought that was kind of weird, especially for a vehicle. I thought that was one of the unnecessary mechanics that they gave to the Batmobile. Other than that though, I didn't think it was too bad. I thought it was cool that you could lock onto things. But again, I do feel like there were slightly too many mechanics with the Batmobile to where you could honestly forget some of them. I feel like some of them are more recognizable or rememberable, like you're going to be able to remember how to do them, and then other ones you're not. But either way, so that's how I would rank the gameplay out of 10. How would you rank the gameplay out of 10, Crimson?
Well, the kind of like you, I'm going to look at this from a couple of points. And the first one is Batman himself or any playable character in this game, pretty much. The gameplay themselves is phenomenal. I'm going to have to say combat, Predator, 10 out of 10. Like, because
Yes.
in every game, they kept expanding, improving it, and it just got better and better. And once we got to Arkham Knight, it was just so good. But here comes the bad news, which is kind of like what you said with the Batmobile. The Batmobile, see, the problem is it isn't the Batmobile itself. It's not even the amount of times you have to use it either. Because a lot of people, they have always said, oh, the Batmobile was shoved down our throats. You have to use it 80% of the time. It's this, it's that, And as we all know by now, someone calculated you only spend 19% of the time where you have to use the Batmobile throughout the whole game. And when you think about that, 20% of the time, that's me rounding up, 20%, that's a fifth of the game. That's a lot, yes, but not as much as you thought, So getting back to, the gameplay and all that, I am perfectly fine with the gameplay and with the Batmobile and how it is. I have a problem with the amount of stuff that they shove down your throat with said piece of content with the Batmobile. So, for example, these bombs that the militia put all throughout the city and throughout, Gotham, you have to disarm a certain amount of bombs. I'm okay with that, but I think there's just too many of them. I think maybe 3 on each island would have been plenty. But no, there's some islands that have like, I think 8, another one has 5, while another one only has like 4. Like, it's just like, it's too much, you know? Same thing with, what's another one? I think the APCs as well. I think 3 is okay. Kind of wish that there was like maybe like 2 per island. You know, like I think that would have been okay as well. But and then you get down to the Riddler's side mission. The Batmobile is just extremely overused for that. You know, you have every single riddle room, something is to do with the Batmobile. And while, once again, I'm okay with them using it, I'm just not okay with the amount of times that you use it. So, with all that being said, I'm going to have to give that aspect probably, I'd say a 6, maybe a 6.5 out of 10, because don't get me wrong, I love the Batmobile. I love that there are different versions of the Batmobile or different skins for the base version of the Batmobile. But the Batmobile amount of times of using it, yes, it's only 20% of the game, and which it opened my eyes to not using the Batmobile as much. It's still way too much, and that's just how I feel, I guess.
Yeah, no, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why. You brought up another good thing, another good point here with like disarming the bombs. That was one of the most annoying things with the Batmobile for me, and I feel like when it came to like switching between the different types of weapons that the tank had, it was just too much to keep track of. I feel like when you compare the characters in the game, you know, like you said, they did these characters beautifully. You know, these characters have amazing gameplay sets. But the thing about the characters' gameplay is outside of their gadgets, it's very, you know, simplistic. And there's a lot, although, yeah, you have, you know, different objectives and puzzles, it's more simplified. Like, there's less to do with the people than there. I feel like there's, in some cases, more with the Batmobile, it seems. I mean, there's more overall with Batman and, like, the, you know, base story with the puzzles. But when we're talking about through like challenge maps and stuff, I feel like there's more objectives with the Batmobile, and that's just where it kind of, you know, throws me off a little bit between, you know, the mechanics with the characters and the Batmobile. But anyways, Kloud, how would you rank the gameplay out of 10? So Crimson basically gave us like his ranking on the Batmobile and the characters separately, so you can do that, or you can just do what I did, which was total calculation.
Well, if we're going by total calculation, I would give it about a 9.5. I think, you know, I do agree with what Crimson said. You know, when it pertains to the when it comes to the combat, the stealth, and just the capabilities of the characters themselves, it's really good. But and the reason why it's not perfect is, like what Crimson said as well, is I like the fact that we got to use the Batmobile. It is the one and only game, you know, as a AAA title in a realistic scenario where you get to use the Batmobile. And it was something that obviously before Arkham Knight, it was something I really wanted. I was like, you know, could you imagine we get to drive around in the Batmobile? But yeah, it's the volume of how much the Batmobile is used. It takes up, you know, a lot of side missions. You know, there's a lot of main objectives that require the Batmobile. It definitely kind of, to a certain degree, within that 20%, it does steal the spotlight from being able to play as Batman himself. So it does, collectively, it does tank my overall perspective of, you know, how I view the game. But obviously, with how the game's aged, with how the game is aged, I do say that I think people can collectively agree, you know, whether you love or hate Arkham Knights, it is the definitive Batman experience. You are playing as Batman, you're in Gotham, you know, dealing with threats, and you're using these gadgets and you're using his tech and his vehicles to do it. It is literally the definitive experience for Batman. Um, you know, and when it comes to, you know, the combats, it's extremely fluid, very versatile. You get to move very quick. You know, the level of capabilities with the different gadgets and the different moves that you get to use, you know, and applying that also in stealth scenarios is great. And also the amount of other characters that you get to play as well. It's very fun. Just the added layer that they built upon from, you know, the groundworks that they already had, it has made this game so much greater. Um, but yeah, again, I'm not too bothered with the premise of the Batmobile in this game. I do agree. I think the tank combat was a bit overused. Um, you know, I really enjoyed the chase sequences and that kind of stuff. That was very fun with the Batmobile, and just traversing with the Batmobile is very fun. But I do agree that having to use the Batmobile to take down tanks or to like destroy the bombs or that kind of thing, even to like navigate the map sometimes, and to do missions, you need the Batmobile. So it does to kind of steal the spotlight. So it does lower my rank overall a little bit, which is why I gave it a 9.5. But it is the near perfect Batman experience in terms of gameplay. I think it is literally the best Batman game ever. You feel like Batman, you're in his territory, you have his stuff at his disposal. That, to me, is like the definitive Batman experience.
Yeah, of course, and you know I feel the same way about the game, um, which is exactly why I gave it a high score as well. I feel like for me, it's for me. I obviously I give it a little lower than yours. Not to say that uh, that the game overall, because like you said, I mean, there's a lot about the game, and it most certainly is the most definitive Batman experience. Uh,
Yeah.
when it comes down to the Batmobile, that to me is what makes mine as low as it is. Like when compared to your score, but that's also because when it comes to my experience with the game, see, because it's kind of like I've told Crimson before. I love the Batmobile racetracks, but I don't really like the combat sections, or at least not as much.
Yeah.
I like them a little bit until they become tedious. The moment it becomes tedious is the moment I stop liking the Bat Tank.
100%.
So that's basically, what my logic is for the tank, but also the fact that, like I said, switching through the weapons, it can be a little bit of a hassle sometimes because I forget that it has missiles or that it has this or it has that.
I just think
It feels like it's too much to keep track of.
Yeah, but there are great qualities with the
Yes.
Batmobile. You have got stuff like, there are circumstances where it doesn't feel tedious. Having to do constant, fighting tanks, yeah, it's repetitive, it's kind of boring. Um, but, when you're doing stuff where you have to, like, fight the cloud burst and you have to, like, hit and run, you're climbing or pulling down stuff with the wrench, or you're trying to solve puzzles, you're doing the racetracks, or you're chasing down the APCs or like the vehicles. That
Yep.
stuff is very engaging and fun, even to this day. Um, I don't ever get bored of those qualities when it comes to the Batmobile. But yeah, it really just comes down to the combat with the Batmobile. I'm not against the idea of fighting with the Batmobile. Is fun. Whenever I'm fighting the boss fights, whether it's, the Arkham Knight or, the Cloudburst, something like that, I do enjoy it to a certain degree. But when you're just constantly having to fight, a wave of tanks, it just gets boring. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel. It goes from a great Batman experience to, you know, World of Warcraft.
You know,
Yeah, no,
you make
exactly.
you make a good point. I'm gonna have to agree with you, Cloud, that the Batmobile sections, like in the main story, fighting the Cloudburst tank, even the helicopter from Ace Chemicals, like I'm
Yeah.
okay with those sections. It's just I'm tired of the tank battles that you have, like the GCPD attack. I was okay with that section. I'm okay with the
Yeah.
Cloudburst, the Cobra tanks. I'm okay
Yeah.
with the protecting Poison Ivy part, but I'm tired of the tanks, interrupting my progress with, I need to go underground to find Poison Ivy's plants.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's some tanks in my way.
Another
Let me deal
thing,
with them real quick.
yeah. Another thing that is what is most noticeable when it comes to the Batmobile, it compromises the other areas of the game, because what's more noticeable is there's a lot of tank fights, but not a lot of hand-to-hand fights. And that's what some people that they remember is, oh, we had so many, we were going hand to hand with so many people in the previous games, but it was kind of dealt a kind of shorthand where we didn't get as many. We still got quite a few. We had, Albert King. You were still fighting the Arkham Knight. He had 4 bosses.
Hmm.
You had a stealth encounter with him at the end. Um, but again, what was most notorious is that stuff like Deathstroke, where you went toe to toe with him in the previous game, Arkham Origins, you were doing all of these stuff to confront him, and you have this like big build up, and then oh
It's a
wait,
tank battle.
it's another Cobra tank.
Yep.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
it does cost the other areas
It
of the
was
game.
awful.
That's
Yeah.
why it kind of deducts a point or two, because they had too much emphasis on the tank battles, and it kind of left other areas kind of with lesser content. Like we should have had as equal of combat fights to tank fights. I feel like that way it's like an even split, and it doesn't feel like there's too much, because you have like an even amount of everything. You have an even amount of Predator, even amount of combat, an even amount of Batmobile. That way, because it's fairly distributed, it won't feel like, oh, there's too much tank battles, because you have equal amounts of hand to hand. That's why it feels like there's too much, because there's
Hmm.
stuff that has less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hit the nail right on the head, and get back real quick to the Deathstroke fight. You make a good point with that. Like it's great build up, because not only do you have to take out all of those bombs and deal with all of those tank battles, but you also have to do the Own the Roads and Occupy Gotham side quests or missions, whatever you want to call them, that go along with those tank battles as well. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, he's in a worse version of the Cloudburst. Basically, take out the first
Yeah.
the first phase of the Cloudburst, and there's Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Like, well, come on now, what the duck?
I'll
I
agree
think
what
the
you
best
said.
example, the best example of something that was evenly distributed to me was Riddler's side mission, because you had everything. You had combat, you had puzzle
Yes.
solving, you had even stuff to do with the Batmobile. It felt like it was incorporating everything, and I felt like that should have been the case for the entire game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anyways, so I'm gonna get to the next topic here. So we're still talking about gameplay here, but this time we're talking about specifics in the gameplay. So I'd like to know what both of your thoughts are on the enhancements that they made with the free flow and predator combat, with things like the faster movement, baseball bats, crates, all the environmental interactions, as well as the multi-fear takedowns. In my opinion, I'll go first. I think
But I wanted
that
to go first. I'm just kidding.
no, you're fine. I think that everything that they've added is just amazing, and I think the best part was probably the environmental interactions. Being able to shove people's
Wow.
heads into like those electrical machines, or like the electrical boxes, being able to
having
throw
the pipes
crates.
freeze
You
on
could
the
also,
villains.
yeah, you could also drop crates on people's heads through like a special counter or
Yeah.
attack. You could also take bats out of the enemy's hands
Yeah.
and just start beating them with it. And the fact
Even the
that they,
Batmobile is an environmental takedown.
yeah, and one thing that I want to say about, all the enhancements, whether we're talking about the things that they added to the free flow or even the Predator with the multi-fair takedowns, is that it just feels like it was a step in the right direction for me. And every time I look at the environmental interactions as well as the multi-fair takedowns, I'm reminded as to just how much this game has evolved through the Arkham franchise itself. Like, this game is the perfect example of how you evolve the franchise perfectly through its gameplay with that, and I feel like they did that perfectly here. So anyway, so those are my thoughts on the enhancements. Crimson, what do you think about the enhancements?
Well, kind of like what you said, the enhancements are just like great. We're getting back to what I said earlier. As each game was being made, the gameplay was enhanced, as you put it. Like, you got Arkham Asylum that established that free flow combat, and then Arkham City, improved on it, and then Arkham Origins improved on that, and then Arkham Knight improved on that. So it just kept getting better and better. And getting back to the enhancements, like Arkham Knight, when it comes to Predator, because from Arkham City and even Arkham Origins to Arkham Knight, there is a big difference. Not only do you have the ability to just silent takedown, there's different ways of doing that. Instead of just sneaking behind them, you could be over a ledge with an enemy directly below you, and in Arkham City, you could silently take them out. Well, in Arkham Knight, you don't have to wait for them to be below you. You could be hanging from a ledge and silently use the ledge to take them down silently with the ledge. So, I mean, just that aspect alone, it's freaking amazing
Oh, are
what
you
they were
talking
able to
about?
accomplish. Yeah, the Predator
Also,
part.
yes, are you talking about the part when you're able to grab the people's or the guy's ankles and just throw them
Well, that was Arkham
underneath?
City. That was Arkham City,
Oh,
or even
yeah.
Arkham Origins. When you do a ledge takedown, you grab them, you pull them over the ledge, and there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
That's a loud takedown. Well, in this game, there's silent takedowns. Now
Oh, yes.
you
Yeah.
could knock out Smash to if you get caught or something. But the fact that they improved on that in this game,
Oh,
it
yeah, I know what you're talking
was
about.
just amazing. And then the environmental takedowns, finally, in Arkham City and even Arkham Origins, you were able to counter somebody with a pipe or a bat. Like, Batman will take that weapon and smack them with it and then drop it. While in this game, he might still do that, but you have the ability to pick it back up and then wail on your enemies with that said weapon. That part,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. So I gotta say, it's just amazing all around with what they did. And then we have to talk about the fear takedown.
Yes.
I think that's my favorite part. The fact that you're able to literally kill, or I'm sorry, because Batman doesn't kill, knock out three
No, it's okay.
enemies, and then you can upgrade it to 5 different enemies at one time in slow motion. It's just,
Yeah.
it is just peak. Nothing's
Yeah, no,
better,
I
in
mean,
my
yeah,
opinion.
you truly do feel a lot more like Batman with the multi-fear takedowns, and it honestly looks like a movie scene from the Dark Knight movies, or
Heck yeah, it does.
or even Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I feel took inspiration from this game with the fact that, whether we're talking about his stealth or even the combat, even the stealth scenes, it just reminded me, I'm gonna bring up this one scene. You guys will probably know what I'm talking about. The hallway scene from the Batman was absolutely amazing. That was literally like if Robert Pattinson's Batman was doing a multi-fear takedown. And that's the amazing thing about the multi-fear takedown in this game, is that it's it's something that different forms of medium of Batman are utilizing to their best ability. And that's the amazing thing, you know, the fact that this game has inspired, you know, a movie to literally create something similar to like multi-fear takedowns. And we've seen like various different types of takedowns, but never has it been, you know, quite to this level. It's never
Mm-hmm.
been quite as good as it is here. So like when you look at you know, whether we're talking like the Dark Knight trilogy or even the older ones, you know, I feel like multi-fear takedowns takes Batman's stealth and just enhances it to where it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like we get that true comic book form of stealth, and that's honestly the best part about the multi-fear takedowns. But anyways, Cloud, what do you think about the enhancements?
The enhancements I got nothing but praises. It, like Kristen said, it builds upon what came before and just makes it 10 times better. And like he also said, I think the highlight of those enhancements was the multi-fear takedown. It it it's not just a cool gameplay feature. Also, lore-wise, it's to emphasize how improved Batman is. He's not
Mm-hmm.
this slow, bulky dude that you saw running around in the asylum. He is faster, he's agile, and he's more intimidating. Um, you know, with a new coat of paint, with his new suit, it makes him faster. And from a gameplay standpoint, it is very fun. Um, of how it doesn't feel like, oh, it's just a free way of taking people out. You have to earn it, where you have to take someone out silently to build that fear, so that you can then use that to take out multiple people at once. It's a very fun mechanic, but you would think that, oh, with all these enhanced mechanics, you would think that Batman it might be a bit boring because of all these mechanics, how it just makes them untouchable. But one thing the Arkham games has also done, it not only improves Batman, it also improves the people who's fighting against. Because
Yes.
there was new enemy types that you'd fight, where you would have medics, how you know you would think that you would knock them out, but then all of a sudden you have people getting revived and it kind of reduces your progress, and you're like, okay, I've got to prioritize taking them out. Um, you've also got stuff like how you can have enemies that have been, electrified, where, oh, I can't hit that guy, so I have to find a different way to take him out. And then you've got also the big brutes, so you can't just beat them up. And then you've also got the ninjas as well, so they're just as fast as well. So you got to be, on your A game. It not only improves Batman and makes it more fluid, have more layers to his mechanics and makes him feel more like the character, but on top of that, it brings the enemies to that level where you don't feel unstoppable because there's more, things in your way. Where, oh, I gotta be more aware of, the ninjas because they could sneak up on me. Uh, or I got to deal with the medics because they're just going to keep reviving them. It just adds a layer to that base premise that we saw from the previous games, and just added more variety and just more capability with Batman. And stuff like the multi-fear takedown, the new gadgets we get to see, the new combat mechanics. It's just all great, and it just again it goes back to making that definitive Batman experience, and it just nothing in media from what I've seen has kind of replicated the capabilities of what Batman could do in this game.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I feel like, you know, whether we're talking about the environmental interactions, the weapons that you can use, like the bats or the crates, um, or even, you know, multi-fear takedowns, you know, there's a lot to this game. I feel like when you look at the other ones, you know, this just basically takes the base combat and adds more layers to it, like you said, which was the great, like, honestly, that was like the greatest part about Arkham Knight. And that'll always make it a little bit more replayable than those games. Not to say that the other ones aren't, but I feel like the fact that we have things like multi-fear takedowns We have various different great takedowns, various different environmental interactions, like you can drop fans on people, things like that. We have all of this stuff that we didn't have in the other games, whether we're talking through the challenge maps or even through the story, that it makes the game that much more replayable, and there's different types of enemies, like you said, with the ninjas. And it makes it so where when you're fighting the ninjas, instead of having to dodge a blade like you normally would, you have to dodge it faster, so it makes it more challenging than dodging a knife, because with a knife slash it's slow, but with dodging the ninja swords, you gotta be much faster, so it makes it more challenging, and that's honestly what I really like about the different enemy types. And then the medics can shoot electricity at other um at other guards and prisoners and people they're working with and other soldiers, to make it to where the only way you can hit them is with a bat, or if you use the remote electric charge gun. So there's various different ways to attack people through, with the gadgets and things, but there's also things that you got to look out for. And so that's honestly the greatest part with all of these enhancements. And with that said, let's get on to the next topic here. So the next topic here is going to be bat suits. Or actually, no, before we get to that, no, not yet. So before we get to that, it'll be...
Oh, got my hopes up.
Yeah, no, that's coming up. So Arkham Knight is said to be home of some of the most iconic character designs in the entire Arkham series. Would you guys agree with that statement, and what's your favorite base designs out of the characters? So for me, I would say that my favorite base design out of all the characters has to be Batman. And I think it's pretty obvious why I'm saying that. This is without a doubt like one of the coolest Batmans that we've ever gotten. And although, now the surprising thing, now for a lot of people, this is actually like their favorite Batman. This is not my favorite Batman design, but it's very up there. Like this is honestly like in my top 3. That's how good it is. So for me, I'd say that I agree with that statement. I'd say that Batman is my favorite base design. How about you, Crimson?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that Batman is definitely my favorite, and sorry to disappoint you, but out of his base suits, I'm gonna have to go with Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is like one of the best, if not the best, and it's just, I just like it a lot out of...
That's a great take, honestly. I would not be disappointed by
it. Okay. I'm just making sure. But anyway, Arkham Knight, like, its base suit is just like, or I should say the base design. Well, actually, here's the thing. You technically start off with the post-Arkham City skin. So,
yeah, that's right.
Does that mean that that's the base suits or the base design?
Well, I would say the upgrade is the suit that he's most notorious for. You are right, he does start with a new suit, but is that the suit he primarily wears?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm still gonna go with the Arkham Knight skin. It's like still really good.
Oh yeah. Alright, Kloud, so... Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kloud, so what, Also, wait, hold on, before we go on to him. So, did you have anything more that you wanted to say, Crimson?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Alright, Kloud, so, do you agree with that statement, and, what's your favorite?
I'm gonna go above and beyond. Arkham Knight is my favorite. Not just, Batsuit in the Arkham games. It's the best looking Batman ever.
Yep.
To me, it's the best look I've seen for the character. Nothing looks more intimidating, more badass than the Arkham Knight's base suits. It is just very fantastic, and it just goes back again to that definitive Batman experience. It goes above and beyond in all aspects. The gameplay, the art style, improving mechanics, and, improving Batman as, how he looks. You would think, oh, Batman looks sick in Arkham Asylum, but then he looks sick in Arkham City, and then Origins. But then this is just a whole another level, because this to me is probably my favorite Batman suit of all time in, just in media in general. I just think there's not a suit that when I look at it screams Batman more than this suit. Especially the lore reason why he uses it. Because again, he has to be fast, he has to be quicker, he has to look more scary than his previous suits. And the suits in the previous games do look good. That clean, classic look, with the trunks. But then you see this and you're like, no way. It just, to me, this is the best Batman suit I've ever seen. This just goes back to why this is like my favorite game, because it just shows the best looking version of Batman.
Yeah,
it is best suit.
Yeah, no, and honestly, you could argue that for a lot of these characters, whether we're talking like, Robin, Nightwing, Harley Quinn.
Even their other counterparts, like the Arkham Knight, a brand new character, looks great. Robin, Nightwing, just all of their designs, the Joker, all of the characters look just the greatest version of themselves. Not just, within the Arkham games, but also just in media in general.
Yeah, and especially Scarecrow.
Yeah, Scarecrow, again, looks way more intimidating than he did in Arkham Asylum. Killer Croc, you might, there might be reasons why you might not prefer Killer Croc, but they adds that additional layer of every character being scarier. Scarecrow's meant to be scary, Batman's gotta be scary, all these characters.
Is Robin scary?
His hair, his lack of hair is scary.
Here, this is kind of off topic real quick. The Arkham Knight Robin, if he would actually wear a hood, I think that would be perfect.
He would. I can understand. He doesn't wear he wouldn't wear a hood all the time. I kind of wish you can toggle it.
Me too. Me too.
Like how you've got damage on, damage off Batman. You can have hood on, hood off Robin.
Yep.
Or just what they could have just added City Robin. They had post City Batman. Why couldn't they have had
That's
City
a good
Robin?
point.
I just think that whenever I look at these characters, whether it's in films, games, shows, I just don't like any of those characters the way that they look more than how they look in the Arkham game. In this game specifically, this just looks the most brooding, intimidating version of Batman. 100%, 100%.
Well said.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's why when it comes to the base character designs of this game, whether we're talking Harley, Nightwing, Scarecrow, these truly are the best versions of all of these characters. And there's a few that I don't like as much. I'm not too crazy about Killer Croc. I would honestly prefer the one from Arkham Asylum, or even City. But that's just because
he does look weaker in some aspects, but again, he does look scary in other aspects. How he's taller, he's got more spikes. His teeth are bigger. He's just him himself is bigger. He's got the tail. In those aspects, he does look, more intimidating. There are aspects they did give him a belly. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why. Did he eat too much?
Too much meat.
Yeah, too much. Yeah.
Too much bats.
Yeah.
Too much bats.
Did he just apparently stop doing the cardio since City?
I guess so.
Yeah, only 9 months and he's gotten that big.
He needs to start doing some more sit-ups.
Well, actually, isn't it the experiments that make him look like that?
Yeah, that's why he looks like you see when you do that DLC, you see on the monitor that he looks how he did in City, but then he gets experimented on, and then that's why he looks the way he does.
Well, I'm talking about the belly too.
Yeah, the why he looks that way completely is because of the experimentation.
That's what I thought.
Even though you might not like it, at least they give it a good lore reason as to why, he looks a certain way. I don't know why Robin you know, doesn't have a haircut. You know,
He's looking
Yeah,
like
no,
me
that's,
too much.
you see in the
that's
you see in the Bat Family
Very
DLC,
true.
he also has no hair. So ever since before Arkham Asylum, he's just had no hair for years. I was like, can you? Is it the law reason that you can't grow hair? You know, what's the deal? But apart
Yeah,
from that, I just think the designs across the board are just all great, especially
yeah.
Batman.
No, absolutely. And I mean, when it comes to Killer Croc, it's mainly the tail. Like, I do think it's a cool concept, but I'm just not really used to seeing him with one. And
I just like how he's just more crocodile-like.
oh, I definitely
Well,
do too. And
hold on.
that's the one thing that I do like about his character. Yeah.
If you like him more as a crocodile, you know, crocodiles do have tails. So
Oh yeah, they
it
most certainly
fits.
do.
It fits more with him with the tail. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like the tail, it's not the best looking tail. I mean, like it's a freaking huge 2 inch. No, like 10 feet tail.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's really long.
But again, in
but
gameplay, he also uses that tail as
exactly, he uses it as a weapon. In fact, you could dodge and run across his back, and you end up running on his tail if you dodge out of the
Yeah.
way, the correct way, or whatever. You know. So like, yeah, I get what you guys are saying, but I don't mind the tail, but I do also agree. I prefer his Asylum and City look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you see how ever since Origins, him canonically becoming more and more like a crocodile
Mm-hmm.
and less human. And I think
You
that
know,
detail is just kind of cool,
now
even though
now
you
that
might not like it.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, in Arkham Origins, he was more on the human side. You know, he had the scales, you know, but not as badly
But
as
he was
like
wearing like normal
exactly
pants.
normal pants,
Yeah.
you know, everything. And then Asylum, he's like, you know, more Crocodile City. He's even
He's
more,
big,
and
he's got
then
the
all of a sudden,
muscles.
yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, in Night, he finally has that tail. He is 100% crocodile now, just
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
in more in the
it's just
man
great.
style. Exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I honestly think that the cowl they gave to Nightwing was great. I know some people didn't really like that. You know, hot take here for those who weren't a big fan of it. I actually like the cowl, like the half-face cowl they gave to Nightwing, and I also love how like his symbol and like the blue sleeves. It's very like marble and glass like when compared to the last one, which was basically just like a shiny logo. So I like the evolution of Nightwing. You know, I like the fact that they gave, you know, Harley a skirt in this one, but they also combined multiple elements from the past games. Like they took inspiration from her Arkham City design, as well as her, um, as well as her Arkham Asylum design, with the skirt that she's wearing. And you know, they gave like, you know, new elements to her character as well. Uh, and you've got all the other characters. You know, Man Bat looks absolutely incredible. Professor Pig looks pretty good. Honestly, that's got to be like, you know, to be fair, I don't really know too many. I haven't seen too many Professor Pig designs, but he's also not in a lot of media. I'd say that this is
He
one of
was
my
in
Professor.
Gotham.
Yeah, no, that's true. I didn't see
I didn't
Gotham
like
though,
that. I did
unfortunately.
not like that
No,
at
I
all.
didn't like that. He looked like
Oh,
Miss Piggy in that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, but I
but
mean,
again, great version of the character.
yeah, no, and it really is. He also had a bunch of other villains as well. You know, Ratio Ghoul, Mr. Freeze. I think Mr. Freeze was similar to his city design, which I thought was
I'd say
um
that was also a bit of a downgrade. He was a bit more bulky
yeah,
in that
like it was
sense.
it was
That
similar to City, but it wasn't exact. I'll say
yeah,
I like Cities more because I think City
I
got
do
the
say I
got the face
prefer
better.
Cities Freeze as well, like the goggles and stuff, and
Yes, the goggles, the
he's just more
face.
cube-like um in this game. Like he looks like
Yes.
a obviously he's a great character, but he does end up kind of looking more like a refrigerator in this. Um, Whereas you know in C he looked tactical, whereas in
Yes, and
this he
that's
just
like the
kind of
best
looked
part.
like he's just put on his pajamas and he's gone, you know, on a honeymoon on the ship.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, lots of great character designs. Some that are kind of iffy, but I feel like for the most part, Arkham Knight has some really good base character designs.
Yeah.
Um, But either way, let's move on to the next topic here, which is bat suits. Finally, we can get to the bat suits. So for this one, I would just like to know what your top 5 bat suits are to use in the game. So I'll start here. So my number 1 favorites bat suit to use in the game.
You should do 5 to 1.
Oh, actually, yeah, let's do that, like a countdown. So starting with number 5 here, we got the Arkham Asylum skin. The Arkham Asylum design for Batman has always been one of my favorite designs for Batman, and I've used this a crap ton of times in Batman Arkham Knight. I honestly think that the best part of having this skin here is also that we got the classic challenge maps, like the Predator mission that we got.
Silent Night.
Nocturnal. Oh yeah, no, Silent Night, that's right. Silent Night, as well as the Crime Alley. And the fact that we got both of those from Arkham Asylum just makes it that much better that we also had the skin to go with them. And, you know, I can't lie, you know, every time I play Arkham Knight, that's usually one of the first things I do. For the longest time, I did that. Lately, I've been doing stuff with other skins I haven't used, but when I first got the game, and when I got all the DLC, that was what I did. I used to just load up Silent Night or Crime Alley, and I'd play with Arkham Asylum skin. It was just a super fun and nostalgic time. Then at number 4 here we have the post-Arkham City skin. This skin is amazing. It's honestly like a better version of the city design. The thing is, I used to love
I
city.
agree with.
Yeah.
I used to love the city design as a kid, like the base one more, and that actually used to be my favorite Batman design. But it's not anymore. So the post-Arkham City design basically takes every aspect of the design from Arkham City, and it basically just enhances it. You know, we got better armor plating on the muscles and the abs, you know, the legs, just everywhere. The cowl looks better. Even the colors on the suit, like the dark blue that they chose along with the shades of gray, and then we got like the yellow golden belt. And I liked how in the beginning of the game that suit actually had the holograms that he could display out of his wrists. I thought that was cool, but the thing that I thought was cool was that it was in black and white at first. I thought that was kind of cool how, like, the hologram technology that he had, where he could kind of answer phone calls and look at people through a hologram, and that was kind of his way of FaceTiming people.
Do you know some people hate that?
Yeah, but for me, I like it because it's like, you know, we get to see the evolution of, you know, the Wayne tech, and in this case, through his holograms. I like how it started, you know, in black and white, and then it basically went from black and white to in color as soon as he got the new upgraded suit. But yeah, so that's why I like the post-Arkham City suit. Then at number 3 here we have the Thomas Wayne Batman suit, or Flashpoint Batman. Honestly, this one is like climbed the ranking in terms of bat suits in Arkham Knight, but also bat suits in general. The Thomas Wayne Batman suit is amazing. I mean, he's got red eyes, he's got spikes on his shoulders, the bat symbol is awesome. I like the blend of, you know, gray and orange. We get some red in there. The shades of, you know, black and gray that they used were really great. The cowl was amazing, and the back of it too, with like those triangular ridges going down it. The cape is amazing, and whenever you do Predator maps with that, whenever you do Predator maps with the skin, you just look like you're out for blood. Like, you look like an evil, vampire-ish looking Batman from the medieval era. Like, it is freaking awesome. And that is, you know, that's just why I love the Thomas Wayne Batman so much. And I can't lie, you know, these days, I've been using this skin a lot more. Back when I first got this game, I didn't use it as much, but now, you know, this is like one of my go-to skins. At number 2 here we have the base Batman, or Batman Arkham Knight, one of my favorite designs for Batman.
Quick question.
And it's...
Do you like the resisted to tear and rips version, or do you like the one that does get damage?
I like... You know, honestly, I don't mind the one that gets damaged, but I would prefer to play with the one that isn't damaged. Good. So the resistant one.
We could still be in friends. We can continue being friends now.
But yeah, no, I like the resistant.
He held his breath there for a second.
I did.
I like the resistant to tear. That one's a really great suit. You know, kind of like we were talking about earlier, I just think that this is one of the best bat suits, period. It almost looks like they took elements from some of like the greatest bat suits we've seen, kind of like, you know, Batman, I think there's like elements of like Batman 89 here a little bit, elements of the Dark Knight. I can kind of see that with like the way the armor padding is, but it's also very futuristic too. And that's what I like about this suit is that it's, you know, futuristic, but it's also modern. So it's a modern futuristic bat suit. You know, the cape and cowl are great, the gliding technology is amazing, and it's just a really fun suit to use in the game. And then at number 1, we got Batman 89. This is my all-time
Good.
favorite Batman design, and I'll tell you what I love about this is the bat emblem. The bat emblem works the best on Michael Keaton's version of Batman. On Batman 89, he is one of the only Batmans that has, besides the 1970s Batman, a yellow circle with the bat symbol. And the interesting thing with his cowl was that for those that know in the movies, you know, he couldn't obviously turn his neck. And it's kind of the same thing in Arkham Knight, but he's still able to move fast. It's kind of funny seeing him move with the free flow movements with his you know, with his cowl on like this.
He can move so fast but can't turn his neck.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. It kind of breaks the laws of, you know, physics and reality. But, you know, that's one of the greatest parts about Arkham Knight is that it has that, you know, elements of surprise there within the, you know, laws of physics here. And I think that the 89 suit is one of the best suits to use in this game. I love the, you know, the boots, the gloves, the armor padding. I like how, you know, marble and shiny like the suit is, and the suit here looks absolutely amazing. It literally looks like it was ripped out of the movie, but it even looks like they enhanced it. It looks like they did a redux. I know that they didn't change anything, but it looks like a modern version of the 89 suit. Everything looks enhanced to where it almost looks like they made the suit in today's day and age. Everything is just so clean and crisp, and I love it so much. But anyways, those are my top 5 bat suits. Crimson, what are your top 5 bat suits in this game?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to name all of them here or which ones, and there's a reasoning for that. If anybody is interested, I did make a ranking Arkham Knight skin suit video over on my channel, so I highly encourage people to talk or go over there and see which ones exactly are my top 5. But I will say, for the sake of this video, that I will say if it's a movie skin, the chances of it being top 5 are pretty high, or even an older Batman game. So what do I mean by that? I mean like Arkham Asylum skin, the Origin skin, the City, Post-City skin, the Night skin. Pretty much those skins or movie skins I really like. And that's all I got to say about that.
Awesome. All right, Kloud, what are your top 5 Batman skins?
Well, I went about it like Crimson did. I kind of think of suits that were very unique and were kind of just ones that stuck out to me. I do like this suit, and this is why and I'll explain why. I know Crimson's not gonna like this suit. That what I'm about to say.
Oh, don't say it! Don't say it!
All the other suits, all the other suits I like, and Crimson can understand why. But this suit he probably won't like, regardless. But my number 5 is, I'm gonna say, the Batman Beyond skin.
Oh, take a day off! Oh.
Hey, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. No judgment here.
Oh, I'm judging. I'm judging big time.
The reason why I like this suit is kind of like how Frozen was talking about the other suits. It felt very unique. It's the only suit that has a retractable cape. Now, I will say, I do prefer the City version. You know, it's a cleaner suit, more comic accurate.
Okay, you just got some brownie points back.
Yeah, I do agree that the other suit is better. But I still like, it's a very unique suit. it's like you look at all the other suits, and then you see this very futuristic suit, and I think that it kind of catches my eye. I like the kind of red lighting, you know, like I said, I like how it's the only suit that doesn't actually have the cape out. I think it's, you know, very cool. Um, you know, the detailing is also kind of great. Um, you know, for it to be kind of like a futuristic suit, I do think it's very good. It's always a suit that I do like to enjoy from time to time because, like I said, it's a very unique kind of suit.
Yeah.
That is what made it reach the top 5. Now, the other suits, I think you will understand. My number 4 suit is the Arkham Origins suit. And
All
again,
right.
I've also got a thing for the canon suits, you know, because obviously those were the suits he wore. So that by default makes me have an appreciation and an attachment to it. The Arkham Origins suit I just really like because it just shows the journey of how far he has come. Like he's got this bulky armor suit, and then you can see as the games go on, he's slowly shedding the layers of that armor, which shows how confident he becomes. Um, but I think I love the cowl. I love how the cape flows on that suit. I would say, you know, I they did take the alternate style where it was the black version. I kind of wish, in my opinion, it was the grey version. Um, but I
Wait.
do
Repeat that. I
like how
missed that.
you know how they took the black style rather than the grey style.
Yeah, yeah.
I do wish that they brought the grey style into the game. Um,
Nah.
I do appreciate. I just think to me it works a little bit more.
Oh, the mobile
Um,
style. No, I'm just kidding.
What did
Although it
this
was
man
in the
just say?
it okay, so it was so that design that he's talking about actually was in the mobile game, and funny enough, I had no idea that it was in the actual game until you guys had just told me that like,
yeah.
a couple months ago. When I found out for the first time, I was like, wait, this was in the game? Why didn't anybody tell me? When I was a kid, I just thought this was a mobile skin for the
Yeah.
Arkham Origins app.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I really like Arkham Origins. The suit, I think it's great. It, you know, is one of my favorite suits. Now, for reaching the top 3, my third favorite
Ooh, getting
suit
to the top 3.
that I like to so much build up and emphasis there.
That's right.
My top 3 suits is I'm gonna say the new suit that got brought into the game was Robert Pattinson's.
Ooh,
This to
that's a
me
hot take right there.
Oh,
now
that is, because there's a lot of people that didn't like that one.
now what I will say is
You're in the minority, buddy. No, I'm just kidding.
there is some problems with the suit. Like it has like this weird kind of blur to it. It's not like as detailed as the other suits. But
Yes.
again, this to me, because Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman in live action, I was immediately gravitated to when the suit finally came into the game. Because I was always asking for ever since the film came out, I was like, oh, could you imagine they brought it to the game? And, you know, with the Switch port, they luckily did make the suit. And it, to me, I just like that suit quite a lot because of me liking the film so much.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely. And I
why,
can relate
yeah,
to that with
that's
the 89
why,
skin.
yeah, exactly with the 89 skin. But that's why I've got that suit in my number 3 spot. For my number 2 spot, I've got the Post City suit. Like you said, it was a
Yeah.
step up. It was a step up from the Arkham City suit. It was just a very clean suit. It's kind of a mixed breed between that clean suit in City and that advanced suit that he gets later on. It's kind of the mix of the two. It's got great detailing. I like the kind of the cowl. The colouring's great. It's just a very solid suit, and I like how that's the suit he started with. because again, it's a very important suit because it shows that he's constantly improving. As you know, what he later gets later on, but also in comparison to City, you see that he's constantly improving before the game even starts. And that again makes me have an appreciation for that suit. But for my number one, like I said earlier, my number one suit
It's the
is...
Zernar. I knew it.
He said Zernar.
My number one suit is Anime Batman.
I freaking knew it, man. I knew it.
Oh, really?
Nah, my number one suit is, of course, the upgraded Resistance suit. Like I said, I think whenever I think of Batman, I think of his suit. I think it's the best depiction of the suit in any sort of media. I think it's the best suit we've seen. It's the most intimidating. The his upgrade suit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is the best suits, of all time. It is my favourites. And again, the fact that this is his canon suit, it also brings an attachment because you see what he does in the suit when he canonically wears it. It's just all-around a great suit. That is why it's my number one.
Awesome. Yeah, no, those are really great lists, guys, and what I can do is I can actually leave a link for Crimson's ranking suit. So that was like one of your Arkham ranking videos, right, Crimson?
Yeah, it's I could send you a link when we're done.
Awesome.
If you need it.
Yeah, no, that's completely fine. Either way, yeah, no. So honestly, you guys got really good taste in bad suits.
Just for the point of this video, I'll go ahead and say that my number one pick is the same as Frozen's. And that's
really?
Yes.
Oh, look at that! He likes '89 Batman too.
I gotta admit that '89 Skin Man. Oh, it just
looks
perfection.
so awesome in this game. You know,
yes.
I can't
feel like
help
feel like a lone wolf over
it. hey,
no.
That's okay.
Yeah, each to your own. Each to your own.
Yeah, you can be a Fook stick, and we'll just be half Fook sticks.
Nah, you.
No, but see, that's what makes this fun.
Listen,
is that
you enjoy that lack of neck moving suit, and I'll enjoy
exactly,
the suit.
Exactly. Yeah, hey, you're not mad.
Yeah.
That's key, and you can't get mad.
Exactly.
No,
but you're still a Fook stick.
No, but that's what makes this fun is that we all have different lists, we all have different tastes in bad suits. And honestly, one of you could have said that you liked the Zernoff suit, and I wouldn't have.
Nah.
That there was anything wrong with that.
I won't. You thought I would have judged you earlier? I would have judged you really hard. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys.
But anyways, yeah. So those are our top 5 bad suits. Moving on to the next question here. So, what would you guys rank the city's design out of 10? So this is like the map basically. So for me, I'm gonna have to give this city.
Well, the question is there enough water?
Yeah.
Right. Of course there is.
Mm-hmm.
Ton of it. But so when it comes to the map, I think that this, in my opinion, although I do like the design of the city, my ranking is probably going to shock some of you guys. Because although I do like the fact that this is a bigger map and it's a step up from cities, and it's also more alive. I do like those aspects of it. The city's more alive, it's a bigger city. But kind of one of the things that Kloud was talking about earlier was the fact that there's a bunch of tanks everywhere and there aren't too many hand-to-hand combat encounters. And so that to me brings it down a little bit. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. That and just the fact that you have all those locations in the back that you can't really go to. Like Wayne Tower is there, the Asylum is there, even Arkham City's in the back. You have all those places, but you can't go to them. So because of that, I gotta give the map a 7.5. Not that it's bad, I still like it. It's just that I don't quite feel like we get... I feel like through every other aspect, whether we're talking like the gameplay, the skins that are in the game, the base character designs, even like the story itself, I feel like the game hits all aspects very well. It hits home very well with us, and even for me. But when it comes to the map, I'm just not like, I'll say this. There are parts of the map that blow me away with like all of the different, Easter eggs and things. And I do appreciate that stuff, and I do appreciate that it is a more, lively city. But because of the fact that it just, to me, feels like there's something that's missing with it, and that being those missing locations, and I just don't feel like there's enough hand-to-hand encounters because they have more tanks versus having more soldiers and henchmen that you can fight. So to me, that kind of brings it down. And not to say that it's a bad map, because I think architecturally and the way they designed it, it's a 10 out of 10. But I think overall, as an experience, I think it's a 7.5 to me. Even like with driving on the roads, I feel like the Batmobile takes up half the roads. And yeah, it's fun to like move around with it. It's a good traversal, but I feel like the Batmobile being as big as it was, and with the roads being narrow and having all those narrow sections, and all those areas where you could smash into walls and stuff, made it a little bit less fun for me, and for plenty of other people, I'm sure. So for that, I gotta give the map a 7.5. So anyways, that's my take on it. Crimson, what would you rank the map out of 10?
I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10 because one simple fact: I think there's plenty of water.
He's got a point.
What?
There's plenty of water, so I give it a 9 out of 10. And you know what? On top of that, I think there's plenty of boat room too. Maybe even ship room too.
Lovely.
Yeah, no,
Love the answer.
there most certainly is. For those wondering, this was a joke between the three of us.
I hope I'm not going too far with it.
No, you're fine. This was a joke between the three of us when we were just in a party together, and we were basically talking about, if there was enough room for like the Batbo, if it could work, and the answer for those wondering is yes, because there's plenty of water.
There's plenty of water.
But anyways, so you said your answer based off of the city, or your ranking for the city, was 9.5, you said?
9 out of 10. Solid 9.
Out of 10, okay. So what about the city? Do you like? Is it the buildings themselves? The the side missions involved with them?
I'm not gonna lie. Like the design of the city itself, the layouts, where everything ended up being, like it just feels right. Now, one thing I don't like is you don't really do too much with the buildings, and the ones that you do, it's still kind of lacking in my opinion. The only exception to that I would say is the studios and maybe even GCPD. But other than that, everything else is just like not one of my favorites. And here's why. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Wayne Tower was supposed to be where you could actually change your skin without going to the main menu. But that was cut out.
Pretty sure you can do that.
No, you cannot do that.
You
cannot do that. I'm 99% sure you can. You know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll go and change right now.
I'm pretty sure I've done that, where you go and activate the pods and you can change the skin. I'm pretty sure you can do that.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Hold up. Have you been saying this whole time? Oh, I
thought you knew that.
Wow, you learn something new every day.
Hold up. Hold up.
I learned that there was enough water in the game, and Crimson learned how to change the skin.
Hold up. Hold on. Hold on. You know what? I don't know if I can do it. It's not open. Oh, no. It's not open. You know what? I'm going to do that as soon as I can. Okay. I'm going to put a ping in this. If I'm able to change my skin during or at Wayne Tower, I'm. That's gonna bring it up to a 10 out of 10 right there.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna
pretty
put
sure
a
you
pin
can.
in
I'm
this.
pretty sure I've done it. I'm pretty sure I've done that.
I've never been able to do it.
Well,
All right. Well,
I'll show you how to do it.
So wait, you can actually like change your skin to whatever
There's like
skin you want.
It's like how in the clock tower you got that little head. You can do the same.
Yeah, I know that. It brings up a pod, but you can't do anything with the pod.
It allows you to change the skin.
Nah,
like,
you're
got
joking.
You got one pod that's got the gadgets, and then you got the one that shows the suit, and then it gives you the option.
No, I've tried it because I thought that was a thing to do. I swear to God, if I did, I'm 10 years later.
I've not done it in a while because I always pick the suit before I go in the game. But I'm pretty sure you can do it.
Well, bully for you.
See what you did there? I'd like to ask you, Kloud. What would you rank the city out of 10?
Oh, 10 out of 10. Easy. To me, this is like one of the most iconic versions of Gotham besides Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Besides his Gotham.
Are you sure it's not Joel?
Well, it's a combination of the two.
That's true.
But yeah, like Tim Burton's Joel Schumacher's is very iconic, but this is like also up there. You know, the architects, you know, all the popular locations, the Easter eggs, like you see LexCorp, Queen Industries, you know, you see Wayne Tower. Again, although yes, the Arkham Asylum and City and like Wayne Manor isn't accessible, you can see it. You know, it's still building that world. And again, we have to take into consideration when this game came out. You know, it's impressive that they made it big as a game as it did when it came out. So, for that in mind, you know, and again, for it to cater to the Batmobile, I think it did it very well. So, you know, and you know, like Crimson said, you got those good interiors as well. Like, you got Arkham HQ, you got Panessa Studios, you know, Stag's Airship, you know...
I wasn't a fan of that, I'm not gonna lie.
I wasn't a fan of it either, but I can appreciate the change in dynamic, where you're not in a building. You're not in a building, you're in like a vehicle, per se. And it has a different feel to it.
It's a vehicle.
It's like a change in feel, where you're in like this big, like, portable lab. It kind of like has a cool feel to it. But yeah, it is literally one of my favourite renditions of Gotham, and I think for the time this game was made, I think they did a brilliant job.
Yeah, absolutely, and I honestly couldn't agree more. Like, I would give the architecture of the city a 10 out of 10 as well. I think, you know, for me, you know, gameplay-wise, I disagree with you guys, but at the same time, I feel like there is still a lot here, despite the fact that there obviously are things that I don't like. There is still quite a bit there, and I do appreciate all of the little Easter eggs that they put in there, like Stag's Airship, you know, LexCorp, but also having, you know, Wayne Tower in the back and having some of those other locations like, you know, the Asylum or Arkham City. And that's one of the things that I've always liked about this map, but also the fact that, you know, dive bombing in this game just feels so much better. The grapnel boost here is a lot better than City. You know, getting around the map with that and dive bombing just feels so much better than it does in City, because I felt like in City, I felt like I was literally like gonna suffocate in between two buildings that were close to each other, or sometimes it didn't quite seem like I could get high enough, and that was the problem. The grapnel boost also wasn't the greatest, but with Arkham Knight, you know, that problem has changed because the map is more form-fitted, the grapnel boost is better, and dive bombing is just so much better as well. Either way, let's go on to the next topic here. And this will actually be the final topic of the video. And that's going to be the day and night cycle. So would you guys have liked to have saw a day and night cycle, as well as seasons in the game, you know, like winter, fall, you know, spring, summer, etc. Now, in my opinion, I feel like we definitely could have gotten a day and night cycle, and I feel like that is honestly just missed opportunity. It also just kind of sucks we didn't get, like, you know, weather like rain or snow, especially because City took place, I believe, during Christmas, right, or near Christmas.
It was in the winter
Uh,
time. That's Arkham
yes.
Origins that took place during Christmas.
Oh, yes, you're right. So we have two games that had snow. I was really hoping that this one would have, like weather patterns to it, as well as like day and night cycles, kind of like how I believe the Spider-Man games do, right? They have day and night cycles.
They do, yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think they might even have weather cycles too, or is it just rain sometimes?
I'm pretty sure they've got weather cycles as well.
Oh wow, so it can like that's actually pretty cool. So like it can rain or snow.
Yeah.
That's
All
pretty
right, we're
cool.
about to find out. Here we go.
I do agree that there should be a day and night cycle. It's the fact because like you see it with that one segment in that flashback with Jim Gordon, and you see Gotham during the day. It's like it teases you that this game could have been cool if you're doing it day and night cycle. I mean, it's part of this. What Arkham's known for is that Arkham Batman does this in one night. So maybe that's why that they didn't do it. Is because, and I think it's also why they didn't add seasons. And that's where I'll disagree. Is I don't think there should be a cycle of like seasons because canonically this is meant to take place during Halloween. So having a change in seasons where it's during winter time now when he's canonically meant to do this during Halloween, I think will be a bit kind of bizarre. Sure, for the sake of visuals, it might look cool, but at the same time, I would say that I do want a day and night cycle. And I would like, stuff like thunder, lightning, that kind of thing, and rain. I think would be a cool thing. But apart from that, I wouldn't say we should cycle through the seasons because at the end of the day, this is meant to still take place during the Halloween season. That's what I would say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I feel like when it comes to the seasons, you're on point there. I mean, when it comes to the fact that this game took place during Halloween, I feel like it would make sense that, you wouldn't be seeing snow because it's in October, and you also wouldn't, see it. You also wouldn't get other things like that, but you also wouldn't have it be like, really hot outside, but there'd be like having like a heat wave of some kind. I don't really know how you'd be able to tell that. I feel like the sun would just be really bright. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But either way, that's completely understandable. When it comes to like the story of all things, I feel like they still could have added it like after the fact, like maybe after you beat the game.
Yeah,
But
post story maybe, but
when it comes to
like all the
um,
other stuff is
like
also meant to take place during that time.
yeah, and I mean when it comes to the day and night cycle, I feel like that's something that we should have had, especially because like you said, the Jim Gordon mission literally teases that we could have gotten that because they literally showed us what the city looked like during the day. So it's kind of weird that we didn't, and it kind of sucks that we didn't get like, a sunny day or like a cloudy day, right? Or like a partially cloudy day. We could have gotten a few different variations there. Um, but so that's, my take on things. That's Clouds. Crimson, what do you think about Arkham Knight when it comes to its day and night cycle? Do you feel like that should have been an existing thing, or do you like the fact that it's always night and that we get occasional rain?
Well, first off, going back just a little bit, I said we're going to put a ping in this. I just want to state, Kloud, you little dirty dog, you lied to me. I can't change my skin.
I'm going over there now.
You mother ducker, you lied to me, but that's okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna lie, a day and night cycle, like, see, with Gotham Knights, they have that. But what I didn't like is you had that day and night cycle, but you couldn't go explore the city during the day. And if you remember, Batman only operates during the nighttime. So I'm okay with not having a day and night cycle, and here's why. In Gotham Knights, you had that, but not only did you not be able to explore the city during the day, but I had a save file where I got to 365 days, so a full year went by, but there was no snow. There was no, I think there might have been rain, but there was no snow. There was no not saying that the whole map has to be covered in like different colored leaves, but not even a single point in the map there was a leaf, or it wasn't like in some areas of the map there was no like tall grass to show it was summertime. No, it was the same all throughout the year. And I'm not going to lie, if they're going to have a day and night cycle, and especially if they're going to keep track of your days, I feel like you need to add in, oh, there's this snow ability during this time of your playthrough because it's winter time. I'm going to kind of shout out a new game, Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's one thing I really loved about that game is the fact that they amplified seasons into the game. And any time that it was wintertime, guess what? The water was frozen. There was snow everywhere. Or in the springtime, it was
frozen.
Yeah, it was frozen. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
Cool,
I'm surprised I didn't see you in the water, frozen. But anyway,
because he doesn't have the water.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Anyway, so yeah, but in the springtime, all these different colors of like there was the trees of like you had a tree with red leaves, and then there was some orange, some yellow. I think there was some with green, although that was more of a summertime thing, and the grass was really high in the summer. And then in the fall time, it was, where everything was starting to, or no, that was the colored area. The springtime was when everything was starting to grow. But point is, in this game, I'm glad that they didn't, because I would have been afraid to. Oh, at first I thought it said, "Hey, change your suit right there." I'm sorry. Anyway, if they would have added it, I would have been afraid that they wouldn't have done anything like that. Which, don't get me wrong, for that, what's the right word I'm looking for? That's that time frame of gaming, I feel like that might not have been possible. Maybe just like a little bit, maybe. But I kind of like if they're gonna do day and night cycle, add in the seasons and do them justice, kind of like Assassin's Creed Shadows. And that's all I really gotta say about that. Except Kloud, you mother ducker. That's all.
I remember doing it. I don't understand why.
No, it was never a thing. You got my hopes up, man. Whatever.
There's actually cutscenes of. That's where you can search it up. I'm pretty sure.
No, though that was mods. That was mods, and it was supposed to be a thing, but it was cut content. You got my hopes up, man. Got my hopes up. It's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you. Can't take Kloud anywhere.
Alright, so we've talked about the graphics, we've talked about the art style, and we've even talked about the gameplay.
Did we talk about the water enough?
Yes, we have.
Okay, just making sure, because I'd be willing to talk about it some more if you wanted to.
No.
Oh, okay. But is it too much?
But, yeah, just a little bit. I think the water is overstaying its welcome. For the record, guys, love water. Just want to say.
But not in Arkham Knight, because he thinks there's not enough.
Get down on the shirt.
Wait,
on the water one.
The water one.
Right. So.
I'm sorry.
So, anyways, as I was saying, so we've talked about the graphics, we've talked about the gameplay and the art style of Arkham Knight, and I feel like all of us can agree that the look, feel, and style of Arkham Knight is absolutely amazing. But before I close this off, I would just like to ask every one of you here, what would you rank the graphics, the art style, and the gameplay? Or in other words, how would you rank the visuals and the gameplay of Arkham Knight out of 10? For me, I would rank everything at a solid 9 out of 10.
If we're adding all of our scores from everything that we talked about, I'm not going to lie. There's so much that's good with this game, but there's also not necessarily as much that is bad, but the stuff that is bad, it kind of does bring it down like a lot. And at the same time, it's not too much either. So overall, Arkham Knights, I think I'm going to give like maybe a 9.2 out of 10, you know? So, yeah,
Right.
yeah, 9.2.
I would say, yeah, with the cons, weighing everything up, the gameplay, the visuals, the graphics, I think it's most known for its graphics. So I would say that I would probably give it a 9.5 overall out of 10.
Awesome. Those are both, really good rankings. And it's actually funny because I was actually going to give it a 9.2 out of 10. Just like
you
Crimson
mother
was.
ducker. Now, you know
I
what?
really...
I'm going 9.3 now.
Oh, I see how it is. No, honestly, I'm gonna change mine to 9 point. No, you know what? I'll keep mine locked at 9. I'll keep mine locked at 9. That'll be my final
You know what?
answer.
No, final answer 9.32. That's mine.
9.32. Yeah, so my final ranking of the game.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, so my final answer would be 9. I love the graphics, gameplay, and the visuals of this game. I feel like they knock pretty much everything out of the park, and I feel like we can all agree about that. And I feel like a lot of people watching this video will also be able to agree with that as well, which is why, whenever we think of, peak gaming, we think of Batman Arkham Knight. Whenever we think of, peak graphics, we think of Arkham Knight. Whenever we think of peak art, whenever we think of peak art design, we think of Arkham Knight. Whenever we think of all this stuff, we think of Arkham Knight because...
We think of Arkham Origins.
What? No. Because it's just that good. Like, it literally is. It's a game that, like Kloud said earlier, has stood the test of time, and it's going to be a game that we're going to talk about for generations to come, and something tells me that Batman Arkham Knight is going to stay the most definitive Batman game of all time. Either way, guys, that's going to be it for this time. Thank you so much, Kloud and Crimson, for joining me. This has been such a fun discussion.
Or having us.
No problem. Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun here talking about all these different aspects of the game, and when it comes to the design, style, and feel of Arkham Knight, it's just bat-tastic. It really is.
Did he just say bat-tastic?
Okay.
Yes, I did. I said bat-tastic. But no, it truly is an amazing game that's ahead of its time, and I'll never forget the first time when I got this game, how amazed I was by everything. I was just blown away by the graphics itself. Like I said earlier, I thought this was a game that was made in 2020. Like, it was a game that came out in 2015, but it looked like it was a game that was made in 2020, which was the most craziest part about the game. Either way, guys, if you're new to the channel, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more awesome gaming videos, shorts, and videos just like this. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Stay frozen.
God bless. Bye-bye.